In Red Room, the building stood dominant at the edge of the city, surrounded by silence, so heavy it almost felt alive. No light outside, no movement, just darkness swallowing everything. Inside, on the top floor, a single room glowing in light. The air was thick with smoke and the faint smell of blood. A group of 7 or 8 men sat around a table casually playing cards as if nothing. Low laughter, the sound of chips hitting the table, and the occasional click of glasses filled the room. But in the center of it all, the reality was far darker. A man in a white shirt kneeled on the floor of what used to be white. Now it was soaked in blood, sticking to his skin, torn in places. His head hung low. No one at the table even looked. At the head of the room, silently evicted, sat the boss, calm, relaxed. One hand rested on the arm of his chair, the other lazily holding a glass. His presence alone controlled the entire room. He watched the broke man for a moment, then spoke, his voice low but cutting through everything. Boss, and some hitman would come save you. The kneeling man tried to lift his head, lips trembling, but no word came out. The boss leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing, with amused. Boss, what was his name? Something interested. One of the men of the table smirked and answered without hesitation. Man, ghost boss. Boss, ghost. He repeated the name slowly, as if tasted. Then he leaned back again, completely unfazed. Boss. People give themselves strange names when they think they are untouchable. Another hit landed on the knee man's rib. This time a broken gasp escaped his lips. His body shaking. Boss, kill him. Let's see what the ghost can do. One of the guards stepped forward, pulling out his gun. The metal clicked softly, and he aimed it at the back of his kneeling man's head. For a fraction of a second, everything felt still. Then a sharp sound cut through the air, not loud, not explosive. His body stayed still in the chair, then slowly slumped to the side, the glass slipping from his hand and shattered again to the floor. Silence, completely silence. The man froze, eyes wide, brain struggled to catch up. Another shot. One of the men near the table dropped instantly, blood spreading across the cards. No hesitation, just clean, controlled death. The red light flickered slightly as the room filled with the heavy sound of collapsed body. Within seconds, the laughter, the noise, the power in that room gone. Only one person remained alive, the man in white shirt, still on his knees, still breathing barely. The gunshot stopped. Like he had never existed at all, the ghost had arrived across the street inside the hollow skeleton of the opposite building. A figure stood in the darkness, black cap pulled low, black mask hidden his face, black gloves wrapped tightly around steady hands, shirt, blazer, pants, everything blending into the night like he belonged to it. Tattoos that looked like shadows stitching into his skin. In the distance, silence has not started yet. The world did not even know something had ended. Inside the red lit room, the last man was still alive, exactly as planned. The ghost lowered the sniper slightly. His finger eased off the trigger. No rush, no emotion. Did not speak, did not breathe louder, just listen. Before he could even say hello, a voice come through, calm, cold, familiar with power. Man, do the payment in 10 seconds, otherwise the next target is you. Silence. The ghost's eyes did not change. No fear, no surprise, just stillness. His grip on the phone tightened slightly. Leather of the glove, because people who hired ghosts don't trade him, and people who trade him don't usually get a second chance. Author power. He is the Jeon Jungkook, a name the world does not know, a face no one has seen, but in the darkest corner of the world, one name is enough to silence rooms. Ghost, a ruthless hitman, cold, precious. He listens, he does not ask caution, he does not he does not hesitation, and he does not miss. To the world, he is nothing more than a villain, but he was not born like this. The world craving him into something dangerous, something that survives without mercy. Still, somewhere deep beneath that silence, but if they are innocent, he does not pull the trigger. No one knows this because Ghost does not explain himself. He just disappears. Clients don't meet him. They don't speak to him directly. There is only a hidden website buried deep in the darkness web where requests appear and vanish like they were never there. And Jungkook? Cyber units, tracker, traps, nothing works. Every time they think they are close, he is already gone, one step ahead always. Meanwhile, in a big mansion morning, the mansion stood tall like a place glowing softly under the morning light. Inside, everything was already in motion. Maids moved around quickly, cleaning, arranging flowers. Headmaid, hurry up, princess is about to wake up. Everyone worked faster, but they were smiling on their face. For them, this house was not ruled by fear because of her. The girl of the mansion was not to them as kind, polite, a little clumsy, sometimes naughty, but always warm. Slowly she opened her eyes. A bright smile appeared instantly, soft and pure. She sat up, stretching lightly, then got down from the bed, wearing her soft slipper. Without wasting time, she walked into the bathroom and finished her daily routine quickly. A few minutes later, she stepped out and rushed downstairs. The girl barely reacted, like it did not matter to her at all. A small playful smile formed on her lip. Quietly, she started walking behind him on her toes, trying to not to make any sound. She leaned closer, ready to scare him, but before she could speak, man, you are the worst at scaring someone, Yan. Man, your reflection was showing on the TV screen. Yan looked at the screen and back at him, clearly annoyed. She crossed her arm and pouted more. Her father laughed loudly, clearly enjoying her reaction. Yan, that's proof you are a real Mafia King. He laughed again, shaking his head. Just a normal morning between a father and his daughter, but on the TV, the name Ghost was still being repeated. A maid walked toward her with a gentle smile. Maid, princess, breakfast is ready. They are saying, please come and eat us quickly. Yan's eyes sparkled instantly. Without even looking at her father, she turned and ran toward the dining area like an. Inside the dining hall, the long table was already filled with different variety of food. Pancakes, fruits, sandwich, noodles, juice, dessert, almost enough food for 20 people. Yan quickly pulled a chair and sat down, her face lighting up with pure excitement. Yan, wow! Without waiting another second, she immediately started tasting everything, one by one, a small bite here, another there. Her experience kept changing after every taste, making the maids around her hide their smiles. Yan looked more like a happy child than the dangerous of a mafia king. One maid placed juice beside her carefully, while another fixing her plate, their eyes filled with affection. After a moment, Yan suddenly looked up at them. They were all still standing nearby, watching her eat. Yan, why are you all standing like statues? The maids exchanged a small glaze. Yan puffed her cheeks slightly before speaking again. Yan, you all know I can't finish this much food alone. She pointing toward the chair beside her. Yan, sit with me, it's already tasty today. The maids smiled softly. None of them acted surprised because this happened almost every day. Slowly they sat beside her while Yan happily continued eating and talking nonsense between bites, making the dining hall feel warm and alive. For outsiders, the mansion belonged to a dangerous mafia king, but for the people inside, it felt like home. A week ago, the room was completely dark, except for the faint glow coming from the computer screen. Jungkook sat silently in front of it, leaning back in his chair with shadows covered most of his face. The soft tapping of rain outside mixing with the quiet sound of keys under his finger. His black gloves hand moved the mouse calmly. Another normal night, another contract. Then suddenly a notification popped up on his secret website. A new client. Jungkook eyes scanned the message. Target female. That should look like an accident. No sign of land murdered. She is the daughter of a mafia king. That was all. No extra information, no emotion. Just another request. Jungkook's expression remaining blank as always. But a second later, the same ID sent another message. A photo. The screen loaded slowly and then her face appeared yan. For the first time in a while, Jungkook stopped moving. His eyes stayed on the screen quietly. She looked nothing like a people usually connect to mafia families. No arrogance, no cruelty in her eyes. Just softness, brightness, innocence. Without realizing it, Jungkook found himself staring a little longer. Then a thought crossed his mind. Why would anyone want to kill her? He narrowed his eyes slightly. Can this girl even hurt someone? Something about the caution felt wrong. His finger immediately moved across the keyboard searching for information. Her files opened one after another on the screen, and the first thing he searched her father. A family photo appeared. The moment Jungkook saw the man standing beside Yan, he froze completely. His hand tightly around the mouse so hard. His knuckle turned pale beneath the gloves. His breath stopped for a second. The softness in his eyes disappeared instantly, and something terrifying replaced it. Pain, rage, fire. His eyes slowly filled with tears, but there was nothing weak about them. They burned with years of burning. The room felt dead silent. Jungkook stared at the ceiling like he could not believe what he was seeing. Then finally his voice came out low, broken, dangerous. Jungkook, you are still alive. Flashback 20 years ago. Little Jungkook hid under the table, his tiny hands covering his mouth to stop himself from making any sound. His whole body trembled violently through the small space beneath the tablecloth. He could see everything happening in front of him. His mother was lying on the floor, blood covered her face. One man grabbed her hair harshly while another kept hitting her head with hammer again and again. The sickness sound echoed through the house. Her weak cries slowly turned into silence. Jungkook's wide eyes filled with horror. He wanted to run to her. He wanted to scream, but fear had frozen his small body completely. He could not move, could not even cry properly. The man finally stopped once he was satisfied she was dead. The hammer slipped from his body hand and hit the floor with the heavy footsteps slowly approached the table. Jungkook's breath became uneven. Then suddenly the table was thrown away violently. His small body sprawled instantly. Several men stood around him. One of them immediately pulled out the gun, pointed it directly at Jungkook's forehead. Jungkook stared at the weapon silently, too shocked to react. Then another man stepped forward, a powerful presence. A cigar rested between his fingers while smoky curled slowly around him. The mafia. His dark eyes landed on Jungkook. For a moment he simply stared at the child. Then he smiled, a cruel smile. The gunman waited for permission, but the man, Mafia King, firmly raised his hand silently. Mafia King put the gun down. The man lowered the weapon immediately. The Mafia King took another slow drag from the cigar, never taking his eyes off Jungkook. Mafia King, don't waste a Jungkook remained frozen on the floor while the man spoke again, like he was discussing something meaningless. Mafia King burned this house. The man instantly obeyed. Some moved toward the door while others pouring gasoline across the floor. The Mafia King turned away careless. Mafia King locked every door. Then he paused for 1 second before speaking the final word. Mafia King, make sure the kid has not escaped. The flames slowly began to spread through the house. The little girl Jungkook stayed there alone, surrounded by fire, blood, and death. back to reality. Jungkook suddenly took a sharp inhale, his body jerking slightly like he had been dragged back from somewhere dark. For a moment his eyes stayed unfocused, not seeing the room, not seeing the screen, only fire, blood, screams, death. That night his chest rose and fell heavily as he tried to steady his breathing even after 20 years. The memory still feeling alive enough to touch him. Slowly his gaze returned to the monitor. Yan Potu was still there beside her father, the man who was supposed to be dead in Jungkook's mind long ago. Jungkook stared at the screen for a long time without blinking. His eyes slowly turned red, burning with rage. The innocent softness he felt while looking at Ryan earlier was completely gone now. Buried under years of hatred, his jaw tightened hard. Then, without wasting another second, without searching further, without questioning anything, his gloved hand moved toward the keyboard. One click, contract accepted. The screen changed instantly. Target confirmed. Yan. For the first time in a year, coach accepted a mission for revenge. Yan rushed around her room, quickly getting ready for college, like she was already late for a walk. She fixed her hair while grabbing random things at the same time, almost tripping over her own slipper in the process. A few minutes later, she ran downstairs with her bag hanging loosely on her shoulder, still chewing the last bite of breakfast. She stopped immediately, her eyes squeezed shut dramatically like she already knew this conversation was about to ruin her mood. Slowly turned around, she forced an awkward smile. Yan, Dad, you know I have classes. Mafia King. I always know. His voice stayed calm, too calm, Mafia King. And I also know you have been in dangers many times already. Yan signed quality. Here we go again. Mafia King, I told you before, if you want to go outside, take bodyguard with you. Yan instantly frowned. Yan, Dad, I can't take them to college. Everyone already look at Mafia King. Those people will not save you when you are in danger. Yan crosses her arms stubbornly. Yan, Dad, I am not talking them. For a moment silence filled the room. Then surprisingly Mafia King. Okay. Yan blinking in shock. That was too easy. A huge smile instantly appeared on her face. Without wasting another second, she happily turned around and rushed toward the door. But just as her hand touched the handle, Mafia King, but you are not going anywhere either. Before she could react, the guard immediately shut the last door. Nan froze, then slowly turned around with pure betrayal writing across her face. Mafia King, that's my final decision. Yan stomped her foot on the floor like an angry child. Yeah, this is a dictatorial relationship. But the Mafia King immediately ignored her complaints and started walking away toward his meeting. Yan glared at his back dramatically before growing loudly and storming upstairs toward her room, muttering completely under her breath the entire time. She pushed her bedroom door open harshly and walked inside with an annoyed pout still on her face. Unbelievable. She threw her bag onto the couch dramatically before falling face onto the bed. For a second, the room stayed silent. Then suddenly she lifted her head. Wait, a suspicious look slowly appeared on her. She sat up immediately to. Usually, after fighting with her father, at least one maid would come calm her down or bring snacks to cheer her up. But today, nothing. Anne narrowed her eyes slightly. Then she quietly walked toward her bedroom door and opened it just a little. Two guards stood outside, directly outside her room. Anne stared at them in disbelief. Are you serious right now? The guard awkward, avoiding her eye contact. Yan spoke and shut the door dramatically. A few seconds later, the curtain near her balcony moved softly with the wind. Yan turned toward the balcony with narrow eyes, clearly thinking of something. But before she could move, her phone suddenly rang. She grabbed it from the bed and looked at the screen. Mia. Yan answered immediately. Mia. Hey princess, what's up? Yan dropped back on the bed dramatically. Yan, in a very bad mood. Mia instantly gasped from the other side. Mia, but why? What happened to my princess? Yan groaned loudly. Yan, my father locked me in the mansion again. Mia, shit. Yan immediately sat up. Mia, Yan, what? Mia, we planned to go to the amusement park tonight. I was calling to invite you. For a second, silence filled the room. Then Yan eyes widened. Yan, amusement park. Her bad mood disappeared almost instantly. Yan, no way, I am coming anyway. Mia laughed loudly through the phone.